Pope Francis has apologised to the Indigenous communities in Canada for the decades of physical and sexual abuse committed at schools run by the Catholic Church. He spoke of his indignation and shame over what he called the evil committed against the Indigenous peoples. Francis addressed a crowd of school survivors, their families and other community members who had arrived from across Canada. He earlier prayed at a cemetery near the site of a former residential school. Jackson Pint is an historian whose research focuses on government-funded schools for Indigenous children in Canada. He told me what action the Indigenous communities would like to see from the Church beyond an apology.
I think a lot of people want to follow it up with real action that the Vatican and the Pope can do with the powers that they have. The main one, I think, is opening up the archive for researchers like myself and other historians to actually find the truth about what happened in these schools and what they knew at that time. As well, the Vatican has a whole host of artifacts that were taken during this time period when Indigenous people were kind of forced into these schools and had no say. As well, there's about $35 million that's unpaid from the 2006 Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement that the Church at that time agreed to pay, and they have yet to pay at this time. So there's a whole host of things I think they can actually do with action rather than just words, and I hope they do follow through with those promises.
And Jackson, for people who don't know, how did the truth about all of this actually come out?
Yeah, thanks for that question. The truth is really by survivors themselves. Survivors have been the one leading this push. Where I work at the Chaney Wenjack School of Indigenous Studies is actually named after Chaney Wenjack, who in the late 1960s escaped from Cecilio Jeffrey Residential School, but could unfortunately not make it the 800 kilometers home, and they found his body on the railway tracks there in the late 1960s. That became kind of an international story, and then they slowly closed here until 1996 in Canada. And if you can see behind me as well, the Orange Shirt Day, which was actually made by Phyllis Webstad, another survivor who was not allowed to wear an orange shirt. We now commemorate her and all the other survivors that pushed for this day on the Truth and Reconciliation Day, which is September 30th now in Canada. So it was really the brave survivors who have led the way and will be the ones to really make sure we don't forget as well.